How's it going, people? For today's video, we're going to take a look at 10 pro tips that'll help you get better at LEGO Fortnite. A couple of these are obvious, but I also tried to include some that I think not many people know about. So if you did learn anything new from this video, be sure to drop a like. Also, huge shout out to everybody who's been using creator code A1. Anyway, starting off with the first tip. It's actually better to use your epic sword to farm knot root and flex wood. And the reason I say that is because if you use your forest axe, like most people do, you'll notice every time you swing your forest axe, it loses a little durability. But when we swing our epic sword, it doesn't lose any durability at all. And like I said, it can destroy both knot root as well as flex wood. So as of right now, you may want to use your epic sword when farming those materials. And speaking of the epic sword, you may also want to put 3 luck essences on it. For those who don't know, this luck essence gives you the chance to earn double loot when killing enemies. Normally when you kill a blaster, you only get 1 blast core. But if you kill them using an epic sword that has 3 luck essences on it, there's a good chance that blaster can drop 2. In my experience, I was able to get double loot to drop maybe once out of every 4 or 5 kills. And as we all know, blast core is important when it comes to making charms. So I would strongly recommend that you use an epic sword that has 3 luck perks on it. Not only for blasters, but you'll also want to use it on sand brutes, because they'll also have a chance to drop twice the amount of scales as normal. You don't really need to use it on frost brutes or regular brutes. I'm going to show you how to farm those brute scales a little bit later. But when it comes to blasters or sand brutes, you may want to kill them with a sword that has 3 luck perks on it. And you don't need to use the sword the entire time. You can use the crossbow to take away most of their health, but once they got just a little bit of health left, you'll want to switch to your sword and then use the sword with the 3 luck perks to take away the rest of their health, because you have to use the sword when you kill them in order to get a chance to get the double loot. So in my personal experience, if you ever plan on farming sand brutes or blast cores, you'll want to use a sword that has 3 luck perks on it. Now, as we all know, there is fall damage in LEGO Fortnite. I'm going to go ahead and jump from this height just to see how much damage we take. Oof. So from this height we should die, but I'm going to go ahead and show you how to avoid taking fall damage. So let's say, for example, you're gliding and you end up running out of stamina and falling towards the ground. In order to not die, all you have to do is swing your sword right before you hit the ground. And if you time it right, you shouldn't take any fall damage at all. Now for this next tip, I want to show you how to get unlimited uses from your grappler. Whenever you craft a grappler, you get a total of 30 uses before it runs out. But you can reset the amount of uses you get by just placing your grappler in any chest. So normally what I like to do, especially if I'm exploring, is I'll just use my grappler to get around the map quickly. And once I start getting low on uses, I'll stop at any abandoned house, castle, or cabin. I'll place my grappler inside one of the chests that's located there just to reset the uses, pull my grappler back out, and then I'll continue exploring. This is currently one of the most reliable ways to travel around the map quickly. Now, I actually didn't know about this next tip until recently, so I feel like there's a good chance not many of you all know about this one either. But there's actually a way you can make yourself glide further when using the geysers in the desert biome. And the way you make yourself glide further is by having the torch equipped, as well as any weapon or tool. And as soon as you jump over the geyser, you want to throw your torch and swing your tool at the same exact time. You'll definitely have to try to get the timing down in order to do it correctly. The way I was able to get it is I would press the button to jump, and as soon as I pressed that button and jumped over the geyser, I would throw the torch and swing my pickaxe at the same exact time. So it's sort of like a jump and then swing and throw at the same time directly after. And if you time it right, you'll be able to go much higher in the air, and obviously that's going to help you glide and travel much further than you normally would. The only thing I don't like about this is that you do sort of have to waste a torch, but I'll show you how you can farm torches a little bit later. But yeah, you actually glide a really far distance. As you can tell, we started in the desert biome and we were able to glide all the way to the Frostlands biome with just one jump. Now for those who don't know, the Frostlands and the desert biomes never really touch each other. There's always grasslands in between. So using this jump method, we were able to travel through 3 different biomes. Now for this next tip, I wanted to show how you can make a beacon in your village. This is sort of what it looks like from far away. And basically this is going to help you find your village a little bit easier no matter where you are. In order to make this beacon, all you have to do is clear out your inventory, just throw everything you have inside of a chest, and then you'll need to die wherever you want your beacon to spawn. So you can sort of either kill yourself from fall damage. The way I did it is I just removed all of my charms, and then you can either freeze or starve to death. And as soon as you die, it's going to drop that empty backpack that you had, but it's also going to show a beacon on that backpack. Once you've done that, you can go ahead and pick up all of your items that you put away earlier, and the beacon you got from that backpack is always going to stay there. Even if you die again, it'll still stay there. So that should help you find your village a little bit easier without having to pull up your map every 10 seconds. And you can see this beacon from far away. Here's what it looks like all the way from the desert biome. That beacon that we placed down is in the Frostlands biome, so I'd say it's probably close to like 1,000 meters away, and we can still see that beacon. And like I said, you can have multiple beacons, so if you want to do the same thing at your other villages, you can. The color of it will change with each new backpack. Now for this next tip, I'm going to show you the fastest method for farming seeds, vines, wool, eggs, and milk. So in order to get this started, the first thing you'll want to do is grab a stack of pumpkin seeds, and you want to deposit all of those pumpkin seeds into one soil. And as soon as you deposit all of them, go ahead and use your forest axe to destroy the little plant that's sticking out of the soil. You should be able to hit it 50 times, once for each seed. And every time you hit it, you're going to get 1 pumpkin as well as 1 vine. So if you were to do it the normal way, you would have to wait for the pumpkin to grow, and then you would have to collect it, and even then you're not guaranteed to get a vine to drop. But doing it this way, you're pretty much guaranteed to get a vine to drop every time you hit it, and you also don't have to wait for your pumpkin to grow. You'll get the pumpkin automatically every time you hit it. So if you want to skip the waiting process when it comes to farming, plant all of your seeds at once and then destroy it with your forest axe, and you'll get your pumpkins right away. And not only will you get your pumpkins right away, but you'll also get a lot more vines. And vines can be used to craft torches. So that's one way you can get a lot of torches to use for that geyser trick. But there's also another really good use for these vines. For those who don't know, you can feed sheep, cows, and chickens vines. And every time you feed them a stack of vines, they drop loot. So when I fed a chicken 50 vines, they can drop about 6 to 9 eggs. So that's the best way to farm eggs. Same thing with sheep. If you feed sheep a stack of vines, they'll drop like 7 to 9 wool. And as of right now, that's the best way I know of to farm wool. And same thing with the cows. If you feed them a stack of vines, they'll drop anywhere from like 6 to 9 milk. And as of right now, that's the best way I know of to farm milk. So yeah, using this method, you'll get your food to grow quicker. You'll get a lot more vines compared to farming food the normal way. And you can use those vines to farm eggs, wool, and milk. Also, you can get milk, eggs, and wool by feeding the animals seeds. So you don't have to use vines if you don't want to. If you have a lot of seeds, you can use that as well. But as of right now, this is the best way that I know of to farm those different resources. For this next tip, I want to show you a couple of different ways you can deal with roly-polies. Whenever they roll towards you, you can just pull out your shield and force them to roll into your shield. Whenever that happens, they get stunned for a few seconds, and that should make it easier to kill them. Another really easy way to kill roly-polies is to just stand near the water, and once they roll towards you, all you have to do is just get out the way, and as soon as they touch the water, they die. So those are a couple of different ways to easily take out the roly-polies. The next couple of tips I want to go over have to do with charms. Once you get the epic regeneration charm, technically you never have to eat again. As you can see in this clip, we're currently starving, and every few seconds we lose about 1/4 of a heart because we're starving, but we actually gain more health than we lose from our regeneration charm. We get about half a heart of health every few seconds from our regen charm. So normally you would just keep losing health whenever you're starving, but if you have the regen charm equipped, you'll always gain that health back, which is going to prevent you from dying, and technically at this point you'll never have to eat again. The only thing I should point out is that you will see the "you are starving" notification on your screen, and you'll also hear like stomach pains as well as a hit marker noise every few seconds. But this is actually a really good way to save up on food. So a lot of times I'll just starve myself, so that way we'll have more food left over for other people who are living in my world. So if that annoys you, you may want to go ahead and just keep eating. But if you want to try to save up on some food, then equipping the epic Regeneration charm is one of the best ways to do it. Or, you know, you could just turn hunger off. But where's the fun in that? But yeah, that's how you prevent yourself from dying, even when you're starving. Now this next tip is one I feel like not a lot of people know about. So for this one, I'm going to show you a few different ways on how to deal with the cold temperatures in the Frostlands biome. First thing I should point out is that equipping torches will make you warmer. Obviously standing next to campfires make you warmer. But the thing I wanted to point out is that if you equip the torch in one hand and then equip another torch in your other hand, it actually makes you even warmer. Obviously when you go into Frostlands cave, it's even colder down there. And there's a few ways to keep yourself warm in the Frostlands cave. You can eat spicy peppers. You can eat a spicy burger. Normally what I do is I equip 2 epic inner fire charms, and that always keeps me warm no matter what. But if you don't have spicy peppers or spicy burgers or 2 inner fire charms, there's actually another way you can keep yourself warm in the Frostland cave. And the way you do it is by placing a campfire on top of the cave before you enter. For whatever reason, when you do this, after you place down the campfire and enter the cave, you'll notice that you still don't get cold. Assuming of course you still have at least 1 inner fire charm equipped. You shouldn't get cold while you're down there. And you can go as far into the cave as you want. You won't have to stick near the entrance. The only thing you'll have to look out for are other campfires inside the cave. I noticed that I never got cold until I got close to a campfire. Once you get close to a campfire, that campfire is going to warm you up, and then when you walk away from it, it'll then make you cold. So if you don't have any campfires in your cave, you should be able to avoid getting cold as long as you have a campfire on top of your cave. So yeah, this is another way to avoid getting cold while you're in the Frostlands caves. Now these next few tips I want to go over are in regards to villagers. The thing I wanted to point out is that you don't want to give them weapons or tools that have full durability, because I believe the durability resets whenever you give them an item. So what I would recommend doing is waiting until your weapon or your pickaxe is about to break, and then give it to your villager, and the durability should reset, and that's one way to get more use out of your tools and weapons. Another thing I wanted to point out with villagers is that I believe some are more powerful than others, and I don't know that for sure. I'm just basing that off of the gameplay you're watching right now. Whenever I took Peely with me when I went to go exploring, I noticed that he died a lot, especially in the desert caves. Usually he would get like maybe 1 or 2 kills, and then he would end up dying. Then he would respawn, get another kill, and then he would die again. In this next example, we used Lion Brand, which is a villager from my Frostlands village. And as you can see in the gameplay, she took a lot more damage than Peely did. As a matter of fact, she didn't even die the entire time we were down there in the desert cave. And I wasn't sure if it was because of the armor or if it's because she was from the Frostlands village. So I also asked Snowcap to come down to the desert caves with me, and she took just as many hits as Lion Brand did. So I don't believe the armor really plays a role when it comes to how much damage a villager can take. Based off of this gameplay right here, I believe it depends entirely upon where that villager is from. So that leads me to believe that villagers in the Frostland biome can take a lot more damage than the villagers you find in other biomes. As we all know, the enemies in the Frostlands deal a lot more damage, and I believe that's why the villagers we got from up there can receive a lot more damage before going down. So with that being said, if you do plan on exploring and taking a villager with you, you may want to take one of the Frostlands villagers with you. And for those who are wondering, the Frostland villagers that I know of include Sky, Slush, Snowcap, Blue Squire, Lion Brand, Yeti. I believe Dana could also be a Frostlands villager, or at least she tried to join my Frostlands village a few times, and there may be others. but those are some of the villagers I saw while I was in my Frostlands village, so I would assume all of those villagers can take extra damage. So those may be some of the villagers you want to take with you when you go out exploring. And the last thing I wanted to point out with villagers is that there's also legendary villagers. Legendary villagers aren't going to come to your village like normal villagers do. You actually have to go out and explore to find them. And they should be located in any abandoned house, castle, or log cabin. You'll just want to go through as many of those locations as you can until you find one. Frozen Fish Sticks was my first legendary villager that I found. It took me about an hour to find them, and this is the location where I found them. In order to bring them back to your village, you should ask them to explore with you, then walk back to your village. If your village is already full of villagers, you will have to destroy one of your villagers' beds, as well as any extra beds you have laying around, because once you destroy their bed, they'll try to hop into another bed if it's not currently taken. So if you want to replace a villager, make sure you destroy their bed. You'll know their bed is broken and there's no extra available beds once you see this bed symbol above their head. You'll then have to wait 5 days in game, which is somewhere between 2 and 3 hours. I believe it's like 2.5 hours for that villager to leave after you destroy their bed. And you can check your village square to see if they've left yet. But once they leave, you should be able to add your new legendary villager to your village. You'll just have to make a new bed for them. But yeah, I think we'll go into more detail over the differences between villagers in another video. Just wanted to point out that some villagers are stronger than others, and I also wanted to explain how you can get legendary villagers. Now for this next tip, I'm going to show you how to get rid of trees that keep growing inside of your buildings. So yeah, if you have a tree that keeps growing inside one of your buildings, all you have to do is destroy the tree with your forest axe, and then destroy the sapling that grows in its place with the shovel. So as you can see in this example, we destroyed those 2 trees that were spawning inside of my tower, and as soon as I destroyed them, these 2 little saplings popped up in their place. And again, all you have to do is just use the shovel where that sapling is. It'll dig up the sapling. I believe all you'll get is like soil. Maybe you'll get some seeds. You're not going to get a sapling, but all you have to do is just dig up the sapling, and the trees will no longer spawn in that area. So like I said earlier, I also wanted to show the best way to farm frost brute scales as well as regular brute scales. In order to do this method, you will have to go into a Frostlands cave, and I was able to find this within my very first cave. I'm not sure how long it'll take you to find it, but I was able to find it very easily. And basically what you want to look out for is this brown chest right here. If you're able to find one of these in the Frostland caves, you'll want to run up to it, grab whatever loot you want from it, and then you'll want to run away about 20 meters. It should make that brown chest despawn, and when you come back to it, it'll respawn with more loot inside. So yeah, every time you run back and forth to it, you'll get a chance to earn frost brute scales, regular brute scales, so you don't have to waste your arrows or any weapon durability killing them. You can just get them from this brown chest. And not only is this the best way to farm brute scales, but it's also the best way to farm blast powder, arrows, cursed bone, cheese, arctic claws, frost shells. We also got a lot of bread as well. You can also get torches. So like I said earlier, I was going to explain how you can get some free torches. This is the method I use to get torches without having to craft them. You can also get heavy wool, as well as snowberry shakes, slap juice. This is also the method I use when it comes to farming silk, and it's definitely the best way that I know of to farm all of those materials. And just to give you an idea of why I consider this to be the best farming method is because here's everything I got after about 5 minutes. Obviously, I would not have been able to get that many brute scales by killing brutes, so I know this is the best way to get brute scales. Same thing with blast powder, arrows. Whenever I need any of these items that you see right here, I always use this farming method. Also, if you do find this chest in your world, you'll want to keep an eye out for any white chests nearby, because once your inventory is full, you can store some of those items in the white chest and they won't disappear. they'll stay there forever. So you can do that if you need a little bit more room. Yeah, I've already done a video showing this farming method. If you'd like more details about it, be sure to check out the link that's in the description. But when it comes to sand brute scales, you will have to kill them the normal way because you won't be able to get them from the Frostland caves. Also, when it comes to increasing your village rating, if you want to do that as quickly as possible, I believe the best thing to build is grills. It seems like they increase the progress more than other items. It's going to level up your village rating faster than workbenches. It even gives more progress than the bungalow house. So if you don't care what your village looks like and you just wanted to get it to rank 10 as quickly as possible, then you just place down a bunch of grills. That way the only thing you'll need to focus on when leveling up your village are the materials, because the village rating is easy to increase by just placing down grills. Also, if you end up dying really far away from your village and you didn't set up a respawn point anywhere nearby, one way you can avoid having to make that trip all the way back to your backpack is by closing the app and restarting the game before you respawn. I did this during the live stream yesterday, and when I spawned back in, instead of spawning at my bed, which was very far away, I ended up spawning really close to where I died, so I didn't have to travel that far in order to get my backpack. So that's one thing you can do if you forget to set up a respawn point. And the last tip I wanted to go over is one I feel like most people already know, but I still wanted to include it because I know there's still some people out there who don't know. When it comes to building, if you want your pieces to line up perfectly, you need to use the snap feature. Now, once you go into building mode, you'll see what the snap button is at the bottom. Basically how it works is, while you have your building piece selected, you want to aim at the building piece you want to attach it to. Make sure your crosshairs are in the right place. You'll see either a red or green circle. If it's red, that means you can't build there. But if it's green, that means you can go ahead and snap it into place. And it should be lined up evenly. And that's how you make your building pieces attach to each other and stay even. Like I said, I know most people probably already know about that by now, but just wanted to mention it for those who didn't. But yeah, that sums up all the tips we're going to go over for this one. If there's any useful tips I didn't mention, be sure to let us know in the comments below. Again, big shout out to everybody who's been using creator code A1. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and thanks for watching.